Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to talk to Scott Taylor of Deep Creek, probably one of the most effective on-the-ground, roundabout, everywhere at the same time reps in this great beer business. So Scotty Taylor from Deep Creek, g'day mate.
Jason, how you going, buddy?
Good, man. I owe you a debt of gratitude, Scotty, because these series of videos that we've been doing with our Brew Buddy breweries and things were inspired by an interview you did for Deep Creek with Lawrence and I think Paul Brown was there. In
the lockdown sessions one that I was doing.
Yeah, during lockdown. So it inspired me to sort of to steal that idea and use it for nefarious purposes around the beer spot.
So nefarious, Jason. That is the perfect word for you, mate.
Thanks. Hey, so you're not at home. You're at a beer spot. Where are you?
How could you tell?
I don't know. Yeah, it's just this incredible sixth sense.
Yeah, I'm up at beer spot Whangaparoa. We are Brew Buddy of the Month here this month. So decided just to surprise you and have the old beer spot logo in the background, because it's literally just around the corner from our brewery up in Silverdale.
My one's bigger than yours, Scotty. Hey.
Genetics.
Hey, so you are Brew Buddy of the Month at Whangaparoa, so I really want to thank Deep Creek for supporting us like that. But we're doing these interviews because we want to find out a little bit more about the folks who support us and our suppliers, namely great brewers from around New Zealand. And so Deep Creek started, when did you guys start? Believe
it or not, Jason, it is our 9th birthday today.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yep. So 9 years ago today, we opened the doors for the first time down in Browns Bay. So Browns Bay on the North Shore of Auckland. We started as a little brew pub. Basically, Paul Brown, Jared McLaughlin, and myself opened this brew pub. Really just wanted to brew beers for the community, brew beers for the pub, and yeah, have a bit of fun with it. We like beer, we like the beach, bit of an idea. And
well,
9 years later, it's a bit different.
It's a great venue, and so to start in 2011, so that's only when I say only 9 years, 9 years is a long time, but that's pretty quick to go from a little brew pub in Browns Bay to there in Titan Place, I think it is, isn't it, in Silverdale, where you have the brewery and tap room.
We moved to Titan Place actually even not long after the brew pub. So we've actually been in Titan Place for almost 7.5 years now.
Wow.
Up in Silverdale. We very quickly realised that we needed more space. We opened a couple of other pubs at the time, one on Waiheke called Cove and one in Orewa called Coast. And we couldn't service those from the tiny little brew kit down there at Browns Bay. So we needed a production brewery effectively. And now we don't actually own any of the pubs anymore. And we're focused on just being a brewery. So it's a massive change that 9 years has brought, but very exciting one as well.
From those, do you remember the first brew you guys put out from the kit in Browns Bay there?
Oh, I want to say it was Dusty Gringo. I believe it was either Dusty Gringo, India Brown Ale, or possibly something like 309, our New Zealand Pale Ale at the time. We had about 4 or 5 beers at the time, and Undercurrent is actually the only one that's still in production. It's probably changed a lot since then, but we've obviously changed our demand, as the demand for different beers grows, we've kind of changed what we've produced as well over the years and grown as a brewery. So, yeah, but I think it was, I want to say Dusty Gringo. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that was it.
That would make sense. It was certainly the beer that I always gravitate to when I pop down there, because we had the only other sort of brew pub that I'd ever seen in New Zealand at that point was Galbraith's up there in the old Grafton Library, and
yeah, man.
And your one, and then a bit later on, sort of maybe eight years ago or so, perhaps Lawrence's the brewery Britomart.
That's right.
And so there weren't too many sort of microbreweries at that point. So what was the capacity at Browns Bay when you guys first started?
So it's a 1,000-litre brew house, and I think we had 2 fermenters and 4 conditioning tanks. So it wasn't massive. When we first started brewing some beer, before we opened the doors, we thought that they'd last us for a long time. It ended up lasting us about a week. I think we had Hallertau on for about a month in our own brew pub because we didn't have any beer to sell. It was just, we didn't know what we were getting into really back in the day. So it's a small kit, but now our kit up in Titan Place, which is actually getting too small for us now. It's a 2,000-litre brew house. We've got knocking on about 50,000 litres of fermenting space. And we have just pressed go on new tanks and possibly a new brew house by January, February, if possible, which would be like a 48 hectare or 4,800 litres. So, yeah, it's growing, mate. It's been quite incredible.
It's just not stopping, Scotty. And it was. I remember back in the early days that we were sort of building relationships with great brewers as and when we could, after opening Northcote. And it was great to go to Titan Place. And the first time we went there, you had Zephyr in half of the building. And I remember that Zephyr had started talking about moving on, and you guys were panicking because you thought, holy cow, we're going to have half an empty building. And
what do we do?
What are we going to do with that? And now you're looking at a new place already because you filled that space.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're actually just rejigging the space that we've got at the moment, and taking out some of the big chillers, and we have off-site storage so we can fit more tanks in there. And but we reckon we might only be a couple of years before we need another bigger premise as well, if it continues going at the rate it's going. Our exports are going phenomenally, so just really ramping that up. It's pretty much 50-50 with New Zealand and export markets for us now. So we're doing a lot to Asia. So China does a lot for us, about a 40-foot container or so a month at the moment. We're obviously, Australia is still a big market. A lot of other smaller Asian markets, UK still there, Scandinavia. So yeah, we've got beers going all over the place. It's
fantastic,
quite a trip,
mate.
really.
A truly global brand, and from go to woe and in 9 years, sort of hitting that, you guys must be wrapped.
Oh yeah. It's, as I said, a bit mind blowing sometimes. You're like, geez, how did we get here? This wasn't really.
Don't ask those questions, Scotty. Don't ask those questions.
The initial thing. No, that's a very good point. Just grateful for it all. That's all. Yeah.
Hey, mate. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is you are the still reigning champion medium-sized brewery at the Australian Independent Beer Awards. Thank you, COVID.
Yeah, thank you, COVID. Because it's not been run this year, that means we're champs 2 years in a row. I'll take it.
man, you've got to take that stuff. But this is the sort of, you know, I often say to people that New Zealand breweries are probably second only in the world to American breweries in terms of quality and consistency and a sort of a new world approach to these ingredients. And, you know, we're so blessed here to have, you know, breweries like Deep Creek who go to Australia and win champion medium-sized independent brewery, along with McLeod's from Waipu, who took out champion small brewery, and some guys down the road in East Tamaki who took champion commercial brewery. But it was a New Zealand clean sweep.
It was indeed last year. It was an amazing evening. There were one of three brews sunk that evening, I can tell you. Yeah, so it was. It's been quite a tear for us for the past few years. So we actually won that champion small, that McLeod's one. We won that back in 2017. We were in the finalists of that. So there were three finalists, and we were in the finalists of that in 2018. Keradu won it that year. Then last year we went up to champion medium, and we took that one out. And our undercurrent Pilsner won champion international lager, beating out. I've actually got one right here. There you go. Undercurrent Pilsner won champion international lager, beating out all the big boys. So we had quite a year. It was amazing, and then a lot of other accolades as well. We won champion New Zealand IPA with a collab we did with Brewing down in Wellington. Our first ever barrel-aged sour won champion beer of New Zealand, which was also mind-blowing because, you know, a lambic-style sour winning champion beer of New Zealand is not something you would expect. Maybe a hazy IPA or something in this country, but I don't know. Mr. Miyagi, one of our beers, got fourth in the Gab's Hottest 100 Beers of 2019.
You guys have done pretty well at the New Worlds.
As well.
You guys have done pretty well at the New Worlds traditionally, and this year I think you got two highly commended with Beautiful Haze and Dragon. Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us a bit about these styles, because you've done a series of hazies that have been so juicy and delicious, and really honest representations of those. You know, the haziness is suspended beautifully, and it stays there, doesn't settle out, and you get those beautiful juicy notes from the hops, and a really great malt backbone to it. Tell us about the inspiration for that series, Scotty.
Well, the beer style itself obviously was trending worldwide. And NEPAs, New England IPAs, now hazy IPAs. So we had an IPA series called the Lupulin Effect back in the day, where we had played around with one or two sort of New England styles, and they just went incredibly well. So we wanted to really focus on looking at that style as well, and had an idea. We like the idea of a project so that people kind of know what they're going to get by the way they look at the can and the artwork. So the idea was East meets East. So the East Coast of the United States meets Eastern philosophy. Basically, I wanted an excuse to put a Japanese tattoo art on the can. After a few brews one evening, came up with the idea of Misty Miyagi. So wax on, wax off. For those of you who don't know, the old Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, but Misty because it was hazy. It was brilliant in my mind at the time. Anyway. And then, got this amazing artist, Frederick Benson, who is a friend of one of our brewers, Johan. He was in New Zealand at the time doing some tattoo artwork, and he specializes in Japanese tattoo art, and he designed us the image. And so the first one was just going to be we just did the one release, and then so that was around going to be a permanent release, and then we every 3 months would put a new beer beside that that was similar artwork, so that people would know what they would be getting. So it just became a series. So and just played around with different hops and how those hops biotransform, especially in those hazies, and give you those beautiful different juicy flavors. And we've become quite well known for them now, obviously. So I'm not sure if there's many people doing full-on hazy series of beer. We can't produce enough of them. Dragon, the one before now, is one of our biggest sellers, and we've just released a new one called Geisha. And then we're looking forward to next year and tweaking it and reinventing it without going away from what we're doing. So we're not looking at stopping that anytime soon. But obviously that's just one of the styles we make. Hazies are very, very popular. We've actually brought a new hazy pale ale into our core range. So instead of an IPA at 6.5%, just maybe a bit more sessionable at 4.7. Still the same sort of flavors. But we're also we're really well known for our sours. We do a lot of sour beers. We do a sort of a West Coast IPA series, which us as brewers, we really like that style. We make so many hazies, but we actually really like the West Coast styles. Half of us at the brewery will reach for an APA or a Pilsner or something like that at the end of the day. So, we make all sorts. But we are really well known for those hazies.
And that keeps you honest, Scotty. You that core range that you just mentioned with Undercurrent, and your APAs going through
Redwood.
there. Absolutely, the Redwood's just fantastic. Those are so important for breweries to have those beers, those core ranges, but must also be so frustrating for breweries, because you've got to keep knocking them out, you've got to keep them consistent, and that's sort of the grind work.
Yep.
So you can do the things like the Dragons and the hazy series and those
Yep.
sorts of things. Do you find you have to sort of calm the boys down sometimes and just make the undercurrent, fellas, just make the undercurrent?
No, they're actually excited about it, because then they're like, oh, yay, something that's not hazy. This is an easy brew in comparison. We got one of our team has stepped up to the brewing team recently after Johan left, and it was a few weeks in before he actually brewed something that wasn't hazy. So he was like, oh, hang on a second, how do I do this again?
You mean there are non-hazy beers?
Non-hazy beers? What?
It's been so
madness.
funny that whole hazy onslaught, mate. Sort of the last 12 months especially has just been incredible. I don't think I've sort of seen that kind of uptake for a style of beer, since the really old days where it was all hops.
Exactly.
We've sort of
I just think that I just think the hazies are a gateway. They're so juicy, low bitterness. It just makes it so approachable and easy that really anyone can tries one. And even if they're not necessarily a good beer fan or a local beer fan, if they've only really drunk big brewery before, they'll just give them a taste and I'm like, oh, that's quite nice. It tastes like juice. You know what I mean? So they're not offensive for people. So you can understand why. But we also don't want people to think that it's just that we do, And
now, Scotty, Deep Creek have a tap room at Titan Place there in Silverdale. How many taps do you have there? And give us a bit of a menu of what's on at the moment. So there's nothing like having a beer from source.
Yeah, right. We've got a very small tap room, just right at the entrance to the building. We've got about 7 taps at the moment on. We have a Nikau lager. We have Lotus Pale Ale, so a couple of the sort of the core style beers. We have our new Velvet Stout, so like a 5.5% stout. We have the last keg of the New Zealand IPA People's Choice Award winning collab with Fork this year, called Eastside. Got one of those on. We have Geisha on, and we might have a keg of Fresh Up as well.
Nice.
So, and our double IPA Courage is on there.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just good to, if you're in the area, it's a bit not exactly right on the main road, so it's just off the main Hibiscus Coast Highway, place called Tight Place, 50 metres down there.
What are the opening hours for the tap room, Scotty?
So we're open when the brewery's open, so literally all day till about 5 p.m. and then we're open on Saturdays as well. At the moment we're in winter hours, sort of 12 till 4 on Saturdays, but that extends out from about 10 till 6 or so as the weather warms up and people get out there a bit more.
And occasionally
we're not open on Sundays at the moment.
Occasionally you have events out there, Scotty. Get a couple of food trucks in as well.
Yeah, try to have a bit of fun with it, mate. Get 4 or 5 food trucks, open up a brewery, drop a pop-up bar. People can come in, have a beer, and we do that once a month during summer, just so that people like to see the source of the beer, right? So we try and open that up and let people come in and get amongst it. So we've got to decide this year what's going on with that, obviously, because with all the new tanks and everything that we're ordering, we just hopefully are going to have enough space to keep on doing it.
Just amazing, mate.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hey, and you mentioned earlier on, the humble beginnings at Browns Bay there, and with Coast and Cove on Waiheke and Coast in Orewa there. And you guys divested that. You sort of came to a bit of an understanding, I guess, that what business are we in? Are we in hospitality or are we in brewing? Tell us about that, Scotty.
Yeah, very much so. Look, so our entire thought process at the start when we first brewed at Deep Creek and built Deep Creek down in Browns Bay was we didn't want to have to fight for taps and tap space because big brewery still realistically owns 90-95% of the taps in this country, so they're all contracted up. So it's very hard for the small independent people to get on tap somewhere, right? So we thought, well, let's just cut that out and we'll brew some beer and sell it across our own taps and have a full experience from the tank to the tap, so you come in and see the entire process. That was our ethos sort of at the start, this very small batch, handcrafted, flavor-fueled beer. And then obviously in pushing that out to the other bars, it was the same ethos, own our own taps, push the beer through. But yeah, as we started growing and we had those, but we just realised there was much more demand in supermarkets and liquor stores and everywhere else, and then overseas as well. And while those tap spaces are nice and you do put a lot of product through them, it is a lot of work. So I was originally the operations manager for all those venues, and it's a full-time job, more than a full-time job for one person. To run a bunch of bars, hospitality, if people haven't done it before, not as easy as some people make it look. It's you've got to deal with a lot of issues. So we just made the call that we would have those under license and focus on getting our beer out as much as we could to New Zealand and the world. And so not saying that we won't do more bars. Always looking for opportunities. However, just right now, this is right for us, just to get rid of it. And you know, we sold Deep Creek in about December or so last year before COVID hit. So shout out to George and your owner there. Obviously, COVID hit and he went through a bit of a hard time just through that. But I mean, shout out to anyone in the hospitality industry that had to go through that. It's great to see that everyone's actually coming back incredibly strong. I've spoken to a lot of people in a lot of bars who are having some of their busiest record months after lockdown. So, you know, we're very lucky that that is happening in this country.
It's been beautiful. You know, I talk time and time again to people from our industry, Scotty, and they're just so grateful and humbled by the return of people to, you know, to support these businesses. And so a big thank you to, you know, our customers especially. We're so grateful for that. And you must be too for the folks turning up and buying the beer. You know, it's just been an incredible show of appreciation, really, I think.
Absolutely. And, you know, during lockdown, I think people started drinking more. I know I did. But it was, yeah, it was quite incredible. We actually grew a little bit through lockdown. So obviously all keg sales fell off a cliff because no bars were open, but packaged product wrapped up. So yeah, we were so grateful for the support and people, you know, choosing to buy our beer. There's so many great brands out there. So yeah, it's amazing to see, and obviously we haven't seen the full effects of it all yet, but long may this continue, and hopefully yeah, we stay the course and can keep getting good product out there, and the economy stays great.
Yeah, I think we're pretty lucky. There's this kind of what do you say? There's a sort of thought pattern that suggests that you know, businesses like ours are recession proof, but you know, it's not until people start coming through the door again that you sort of go, oh, okay, we might be all right here, you know. But that crazy 6 weeks was you know, the most stressful thing about it for me was that there was just nothing you could do. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And it was...
You have to try and sit at home and try and relax and just try and... And yet there's so many people, you know, whose entire livelihoods are affected by something like this, you know. Yeah, the entire tourism and hospitality industry. Just, you felt for everyone.
Well, my heart really goes out to the people who've been affected by job losses through this, because you know, because of various things. But you know, things are still going to get tighter, Scotty. I'm really worried for. I think September is when the last wage subsidy round finishes. Yeah. And you know, I think that's going to hit. I mean, I think for us as we come into the warmer months, I think we might be quite lucky, but. You know, my heart really goes out to those people who've suffered a job loss, and you know, through circumstances that are just beyond anyone's control. It's just really sad.
Yep, I agree, man. It's yeah.
Hey, but
we're very lucky that we were still going doing our thing.
A lot of people might not know this, Scotty, but you're responsible for quite a lot of the artwork and the branding of Deep Creek.
Yep, I dabble in graphic design. I guess I'm the self-appointed art director of Deep Creek. So, yeah, so I, Mr. Miyagi, which is our most popular beer, as I said before, that's an artist that I got to do that. But the entire Tiki series, I did that. All our core range stuff, I personally have done. Yeah. Done a bit of the stuff with the Totem series. So, yeah, I mean, I like to dabble, I suppose, having a bit of that background as well helps when you're trying to...
Modest and humble too. If that's dabbling, you do a pretty good job. And and I said earlier on too, Scotty, that you're probably one of the most thinly spread reps, because you get everywhere, buddy. Your commitment to your job is sensational. I think the last thing you were at might have been the West Coast IPA Challenge, maybe, or something more recently?
Oh,
Perhaps?
West Coast is this weekend coming
Oh
up.
God, yeah.
So I'm down there on Friday, and then the Hazy IPA competition Heyday on Saturday. The last thing I was at was Sourfest down at the Malt House in Wellington. Before that was the Smiths New Zealand IPA competition down in Queenstown. So I've had a few things going on since lockdown.
And then Mrs.
I
Taylor would
suppose
have gone.
lockdown.
Mrs. Taylor would have gone, thank God for lockdown. I'm going to see my husband for more than a couple of hours a day.
Yeah, well, I've also got two small children, 2 and 3.5. So it was actually, I loved lockdown because I got to spend a bunch of time with the fam. And yeah, I mean, it's hard in this industry getting away and not spending time, especially when you've got small kids. But it's also a big part of the industry and what we do, and having to go around and promote yourself and promote your beers. So yeah, the wife was happy, but I've tried to pull back a little bit from the amount I was going away because it was getting a bit ridiculous. I suppose
Well, I'm sorry,
the lockdown.
did you just hear that list of things you said you're doing this weekend?
I know, but I'm just saying, try to pull back a bit. It was getting worse. Trying to take the family away on things as well. But I'm not going overseas anymore, obviously, for obvious reasons. So that obviously makes a big difference because I was taking care of Australia as well, and getting over there can't be done at the moment. So that takes a big chunk off my plate and allows me to stay home a little bit more.
Nice. Hey, Scotty, thanks again for Deep Creek being our Brew Buddy of the Month at Whangaparāoa this month. Just take us quickly through the lineup. What have we got on the taps at Whangaparāoa?
Okay, so talking with Ben and Tracy and Craig and the guys up here, we're going to change it up slightly. There's coming out of lockdown. We weren't sure obviously what bars we're going to be doing, so we're very can heavy, pack heavy on a lot of things. So there have been a few shortages that we have been sort of working through. So tap one, we're going to have a lager or pilsner, so a Nikau lager or undercurrent, depending on what's available at the time. Tap 2, I think we have Redwood on. Tap 3, we have our brand new hazy pale ale called Haze. Tap 4, we have either Misty Miyagi or Beautiful Haze, both 2 hazy IPAs, Nika styles. Tap 5, I think we have the Geisha at the moment, which is our latest seasonal release of our hazy IPA. But that might change to a sour during halfway through or something like that. So it might change to Waikiki, our hibiscus watermelon sour that's out at the moment. And then tap 6 is Velvet, our new key only stout for winter. So 5.5% easy drinking stout. So that's what's on at the moment. But yeah, there'll be a few changes, and we're also launching a new Wildwood this month up here. So a Wildwood is a barrel-aged sort of lambic sour. That's, as I was saying earlier,
nice.
a creek named Deep Creek, which is the one that won the Champion Beer of New Zealand last year. We have the new one in that, and it's called Cassis. It's a blackcurrant sour, and it is, only way to describe it is like Ribena for adults. So it's like been barrel aged for up to 24 months in various barrels, red wine barrels and second use bourbon barrels, and then left on black currants for 2.5 to 3 months. So it's just an amazing beer that we're going to launch. So we might have a few fun things like that coming on as well.
Oh, awesome, Scotty. Hey, thanks again, mate, and thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure to see you, buddy. And I've been doing the right thing. I had a bit of a blood pressure scare, so I've been off the beersies for, it's 5 weeks this week. I'm going to do 6,
Wow.
but that means I'll be able to catch up with you for one of those beautiful barrel-aged sours, the Cassis, hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Let's do it, mate. Let's do it.
Thanks, Scotty. You're a great man.
You can choose the beer spot, this one or that one. I don't know which side it is on yours yet.
Scotty, it's great to see you, buddy. Thank you very much for your time, mate.
Thanks, Jason, and cheers, everyone. Yeah, get to a beer spot and have a beer soon.